Our fourth panel is also one that is close to my heart because now we're going back to the esports side of things. This session is called Strengthening the Maltese Grassroots in Esports, and it will be moderated by Kersten James Chircop, who is the director founder of GMR, who is also the organizers of this whole event, who's been involved quite a long time in the grassroots here. Started with a community website 10 years ago that grew into a marvelous project, having different LAN parties, and now the full-on convention. With him up on stage, welcome please, and give an applause to Michele Magro, Sergey Bidzan, Jaap Visser, Justin Mifsud, and Bonnici.
Thanks for the introduction, Marie. Lovely to see a lot of familiar faces after 2 years from the first edition of Playcon. Let's get straight into it and start with a brief introduction from each of the panelists here, starting by Michele.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Michele. I'm the president of the Maltese Esports Association. I also run my own esports team called Project Aversio. We have a stand, so if you'd like to pay us a visit so we can talk a bit more about it later on, please feel free to come by. And I'm also a lawyer by profession, and I work in esports, gaming, and those general sectors. That's pretty much it. Thanks.
Cool. My name is Jaap, working 10 years for ESL, having my own company in the Benelux, also handling everything in Malta, ESL related. So taking care of the international business, but also the local grassroots competition we will announce soon. I had my own gaming team, but I started working for ESL, so I had to give up that one. But I'm an esports fan and part of the community, and hopefully we can bring more esports and grow esports more in Malta.
I'm Justin Mifsud. I'm the CEO of World Pro Racing, which is a sim racing company. We organize sim racing events across the globe. We started a few events locally and now doing events literally across the globe. And last year we had around 60 million viewers from a small island, as you used to say, but we've got the passion that we do love esports. I've been into esports for the past 21 years. Back then, it was not even esports. For fun. Back then, when ESL was started, you remember we had a discussion between us.
That's a long time ago, huh?
And then I kept on going. I played competitively early 2000s. Motorsport is in my blood, and continued sim racing, but with the main point and target to educate people out there about esports in general and sim racing, leading to children to become the future drivers, both in esports and motorsport.
Sergey?
Hi, my name is Sergey Bidzan. I'm in esports for more than 10 years. Spent about 8 in StarLadder, Ukrainian esports tournament organizer. Now for more than 2.5 years, I am CEO of Eden Esports. It's a local Maltese tournament organizer. We do international online and offline events. That's pretty much it.
Hi, I'm Bonnici. I'm the esports project manager for the Malta Football Association. I've been at the role for the past 4 years now, and now obviously we're heading into the 4th season of the Malta E-Premier League. Been a busy time, even though COVID hit, obviously we never stopped. Football obviously did, but e-football did not. So it was something which the Malta FA always tried to do, and we're striving on doing it ourselves.
Thanks for the introduction, everyone. Heading straight into the questions, and please feel free to join in all the questions. Starting off with Michele. So we are obviously, in recent years, we saw the growth of esports internationally, especially even though with COVID events were not happening, but there were a lot of records broken by ESL and other international companies when it comes to online viewership. When it comes to Malta, are we seeing the same rate of growth in this industry?
I think people who are esports enthusiasts in Malta have a lot more opportunities than they've had in the past few years. Is it mainstream? No, not really, but it's catching up a lot. We're seeing a lot of activity going on. You're seeing this whole expo full of people, especially now on Saturday and Sunday. There'll be so many tournaments going on at the same time. We're going to have a lot of foreign players also flying in for the events. So are we there yet? No, for sure not. But things are looking up, and with increased opportunities, we will see the scene growing forward. One of the things that we really want to try and do, wearing both my hats as a team owner and also as president of the Maltese Association, is to create heroes and success stories. Most Maltese people, people coming from a small island will always say, I will never be a major winner. I will never be a winner of the international. I will never make it. It's really hard to make a living off of esports. So that dream kind of gets shattered because you're just from a small island. The truth is, a country which is by population not that much bigger than Malta, Macedonia just had its first the international winner. A team winning €8 million, $8 million. And the same goes for Maltese people, giving visibility to people who've made it. There are so many actually, okay, not many, but there's quite a few Maltese individuals who have actually made strides into esports. I can name Cupert. One very clear example, one of the best we've ever had in Malta in terms of esports competitors, who do make it if they put their mind and they see that there are opportunities, and if people see that there is the possibility for it to happen, then why not? You just need to work really hard at it.
I totally agree, and I mean, each and every one of you here, that you all do competitions leading to international participation. So I think that if the local community embraces that, there is a lot of potential going forward. Building on that, Sergey, question for you. You have international experience as well, and recently you relocated to Malta and you're experiencing the local ecosystem at first hand. Given the size of our country, how can esports become a contributing economic sector to the country?
So esports, the beauty of esports is that it's an online event. I mean, an online business, an online market. So local scale of Malta is, yes, it's a limiting factor for something that's happening on the island. But as soon as you bring your product, bring your tournament outside of Malta, it doesn't really matter where you come from. We as CTO, we organize events in not just Europe, but also North America, South America, also working with China. Same as our talents or our referees, they can work with any tournament, with any esport company in the world. So I think that the main contributing factor is to go for an export of services. That's where we can get the biggest impact, and that's where we can start making a difference.
Justin, so I know that you are working a lot with young children who are aspiring to even go to real racing. Do you think that we are giving enough importance to the grassroots?
It's funny because today there are students and teachers. One of the students asked the teacher and told her, you see, I've been telling you year after year that I'm not playing, and just that. And then other teachers said, we had no idea that this is esports. I was just explaining what happens behind the scenes during an event, like going to happen this weekend. We showed them the OB unit for the production. We mentioned the facility, that the facility is becoming a licensed school. And literally, they had no idea, which is the problem, one of the main problems. So hence why I created the first esports dedicated program on our national TV. Why? Because the adults, not generalizing everybody, but they know nothing about esports. In fact, when we had events like here or other places, even yourself, I saw parents grabbing them from their hands. No, stop playing games. You played enough. It's not about playing games. So this is the way that each organization, every organization should do, by at least educating them what happens during a game. Now coming to the point of becoming a real driver, now there are certain athletes, we call them athletes, relevant to if people say if it's a sport or not. Mind you, sim racing was the second country after Germany that it was recognized as a sport. Why? Because they do mental training, physical training, they take care of what they eat, nutrition, like every other individual athlete in other games. So yes, it helps. I can vouch for that because I transitioned from sim racing to real motorsport. In fact, the car of the person is in front of me. From sim racing, literally no training, to the actual car. Sim racing helps you a lot in not feeling fully the feedback of the car, and when you go into the car, you'll find it easier. You can do a search on YouTube and you find many drivers who are now real drivers. They didn't pay 1 single cent because the team owners saw a big, huge potential of these drivers, and they are now competing for the team, representing the team, gaining more sponsors, and that again comes from education. If you have a driver who is professional coming from sim racing and who is a streamer as well, he already knows how to talk, how to communicate, and bringing sponsors to the company or himself. And this is education, because when I go around, like today, interviewing people, most of them, especially the public, they will freeze in front of a camera. Why? Because they are not well educated from school, and this is coming from school. And that's a big problem. I know that they have drama lessons. Is it working? So if you're not going to push in education in this sector, same goes for professional CSGO, FIFA. There are top players. When they stop, and the next top players come to the point where they are competing and putting a show out there, the level is not going to be the same.
Oh, and I mean, that's the objective of today and tomorrow, bringing school students to experience at first hand what esports is, what are the career opportunities in video games. Obviously, it's not just about playing the game, it's developers, artists, etc. So yeah, I think I totally agree on what you are saying. It's very important, not just to that age group, but to the parents and the general public in general, because education, sometimes it's always related to schools, but raising awareness is also part of the education. And continue on that. Jaap, obviously you have a lot of international experience working for ESL. What do we need to do as a country to nurture more professional players?
Yeah, it's good that we touched the ecosystem already a little bit, because the ecosystem is not only the player, it's not only us organizing an event. The ecosystem is quite big, to be honest. So if you want to facilitate players, but also league organizers like ESL or Star Ladder or different organizers, you have to be sure you're not only having the accommodations and stuff, but also the complete ecosystem. And if you look at the games, it all starts with a game developer. Without the game, we don't have any esports, right? We cannot play a game. And it's also super important to work with them together. If you look at the ESL events we are doing with Counter-Strike, without Valve investing a lot into the game, a lot of money into the ecosystem, esports was also not that big. And if you look at our broadcast, like Twitch, we broadcast on Twitch. If that platform was not there, we don't reach the millions of people we are reaching. So does it work to bring like a global esports product like the Pro League to Malta? Do we have like a real big stadium? We're close to a big stadium, I know that, but a stadium that can fit in like the things we need. Not in Malta, but I think Malta brings something else. Malta brings something like the ecosystem is open to bring additional value to an esports organizer like ESL. And so, and they are already opening the door. So what can really help us is making that ecosystem bigger, create more awareness also on the local ecosystem, the grassroots. Because if that's there, then it's easier for us to get more people, hire people also in Malta. We're now already working with a lot of Maltese people on our events as admins or helping hands or different stuff. And I think that can grow. We are here for the next 2 years. And what I experienced in Malta, Malta is open to support and also learning us new things and how we can accommodate the players and host those events. So education is one. Working together as all different partners within this industry is super important. And we didn't enter the country as ESL and saying, hey, we're going to put an event here and that's it. Yep. We're really trying to build something together and leverage what we are doing here. And that's why we also want to have our own grassroots competition. Yep. Not to take away something in sim racing, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do something in FIFA because we know that's a good part of the ecosystem. We want to bring something else what's maybe just not there, or maybe it's something we can grow. That's basically what we want to do.
I mean, from my point of view, I think that I saw certain people in recent years that they had a hobby. For example, they used to stream. But nowadays, since there are a lot of tournaments going on and everyone is working together, as you mentioned, they are having more opportunities to improve their craftsmanship. Someone like Edward comes to mind. They all know who he is. He's helping MFA with the E-Premier League on streaming. He's helping with Eden. He is helping with Justin. So I think the more tournaments there are and opportunities, obviously, same goes to the players. They are more going to take it serious and hopefully making a career out of this. Kurt, we mentioned that we are next to a big stadium. When it comes to FIFA, recently, with the involvement of the MFA, I think it got a big boost in reaching the general public because obviously the MFA and football is one of the, if not the most popular sports in Malta. If we mix that with esports, how do you think that the clubs should take advantage of this growth to reach a further or younger audience?
Basically, at the Malta Football Association, around 4 or 5 years ago, we had, apologies, we've done a research and saw that most of the players that actually play football give up, as you said, because of just learning, give up at a young age. Listen, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to play football. Okay, fair enough. But in football, as we want an association, we want people who also support the footballers. We want physiotherapists you'll need at an early age. You want coaching. You have the backroom stuff. These are all areas where through football, through your love for football, you're actually going deeper into the football sector. Same thing with esports. You might not like football outside. You might not like go outside. You might just love watching football, not playing. You might love playing it on FIFA or PES. And that's what urged us to say, listen, is there something else out there where we can say, listen, can we go further into your love for football from just the pitch outside and the big stadium next to us to even, as you mentioned, Edward. Edward used to play football when he was young. He said it multiple times. And that helps us because from streamer, developer, marketing, you have all the areas. And that starts from your love of football. And through our league, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more teams involved, to get more students and more people involved in the football sector, which can go in both sectors, physical or now in the esports sector.
Now, a bit of a question to everyone, starting with Michele. What do you think are current, let's say, future trends, and where do you think that the sector will grow?
Future trends, I think actually rather than trends, what I'd like to see in the future is maybe the esports sector actually becoming a bit more stabilized. Right now, there is a lot of investment hype. There's a lot of money going around. And because of certain pushes, for example, in the betting sector and so on, esports is doing well in terms of the amount of money coming in. But on the other hand, there's a question of sustainability. And I think that's the most important area where I think anyone who's involved in esports needs to keep a very close eye on, because we want a sector that's sustainable. We don't want a sector that is, solely built up on angel investment, and then in 10 years' time it turns out that that investment wasn't wise at all. Or spending too much money without considering what the returns are going to be. Esports is a very, very, very particular sector. It's divided into different game titles. So you have CSGO that enjoys massive popularity in one area of the world. You have League of Legends that has a similar level of popularity, but all throughout the world. Then you have games that are maybe popular in one area of the world, but are not as popular in other areas. I mean, you take something like FIFA, or Tekken, that is massive in the Middle Eastern region, massive everywhere, but particularly in those regions. Does it have the same pull in, for example, North America? Probably not. So there's a lot of nuances in the sector. So it's not like talking about esports as though you're talking about football, because there's one football game, but there's many esports titles. Now, it's important that when we consider infrastructure building around esports, we build in a way that is sustainable and that will cater for all developments, because also esports titles are temporal. Right now, CSGO might be popular. In 20 years' time, CSGO might not be popular. But what happens then? Kind of all the work and all the development that has taken place over the past, 15, 18 years of Counter-Strike, does that vanish away? Or do we leverage the value that was generated by Counter-Strike, and that value is transposed into another title? Because infrastructure is built in the right way.
Yeah, I want to jump into that last part, because at ESL we don't organize events based on a game. Of course, we have the game during an event, but we are not organizing, for example, IM Katowice, one of our biggest events, and only because there's Counter-Strike. When we started with League of Legends and StarCraft, and you also saw that event still exists, it's still getting bigger and bigger each year. So if you ask me, where do we go in the future with esports, if you look at events, I think it will become more festivals. So, of course, there's esports competing, 5 versus 5 or whatever the game is. But around it, there will be more and more like live performance from DJs. There will be exhibitors where they can showcase different products. It can be meet and greet, it can be a convention, it can be anything else, but it will be all linked together to one event. So more a festival style. We are doing that with DreamHack, one of our products, but it can even be bigger. And if you look at ask me about the business side, I think we will go to more a closed ecosystem. Okay. So where now we are operating events, maybe we're going to also include maybe some game development later, for example, to close that ecosystem, bring it closer to what we can bring on the stage.
I mean, personally, I look forward to every year the League of Legends World Champions, just because to watch the show and what they're going to come up with.
Yeah,
so
like
they always do a great show. Justin, in sim racing, obviously, the panel before us, there was also a discussion about metaverse and virtual reality. I know that in sim racing, this technology is also bridging on that. What's your opinion when it comes to those technologies and the future of sim racing?
Can I add something to what they were saying before?
Yes, sure.
Because I kept thinking about it and looking at those children out there, because those are the future of esports. I'm fed up of seeing and watching the same teams, same players, year after year. Literally, I might be wrong, but anyway, I'm right. It's true. It's true, no? This is not just, because I looked at you, not just CSGO or ESL, it's global, even in sim racing. Same teams, those who have big budgets, the actual. For example, right now, one of our partners is monitoring the F1 esports races, while the team also is monitoring from here. Mm-hmm. Same drivers, same drivers, same drivers. Why? Either people are scared getting out there, which go back to the education to motivate these students, again, the future of esports, and you mentioned the investments, Michele. Certain companies are just putting the cash, injecting, and know nothing about esports, and they want to rule themselves and ruin the organizations themselves, which happened already. And yes, they want a slice of the cake as well, which is not putting esports down, but still, it's making an impact as well. Now I forgot the question you told me.
What do you think about integrating
Metaverse,
technologies
yes.
like VR and sim racing? How is it looking for the future?
VR, we're using a VR, which is used by Alpine F1. It's not a promotion, but they're using it as monitoring the drivers, eye tracking, not actual brain scanning, but it separates the focusing of what they're doing, and if they think about something else, you have a new graph.
Okay.
We're using it because I started training children with ADHD and autism, which were rejected by local schools, whom they call themselves and teachers experts in the field. I cannot say the exact word because it doesn't sound right, but literally they don't deserve to be in school, which is something that you got the qualifications and you're literally not qualified in reality. And they came to us and we entered into their world because they have their own world. And if they keep this school as a prison, literally, hey, you came to school, you have to obey, you have to abide by my rules. No, we just accepted their condition, and through VR, we are changing their lives. We have a driver, Matteo, who his mother's no issues with mentioning his name. We put him in a track whom he never experienced on a car, and he just went all out like he's been practicing for 10 years. We're talking about a child with severe autism and was rejected in school because we cannot cope with your child. In general, I'm not mentioning any person. No, that's not fair. Through VR, we can manage and monitor such thing, and we're doing research as well. So that is something good in VR. Unfortunately, not everybody can use the VR, including myself. I was getting very nauseous, but I decided, I had a discussion with my brain and said, hey, you either wear it and stay, because you cannot miss a VR in sim racing for an experience. Metaverse, I have ideas to introduce to sim racing, but it's still a long way to go, even technology-wise, and you have to implement it into the current sim racing platforms, which is very heavy to just put it out there. And so yes, there's a big future in that. In VR especially, metaverse-wise and to sim racing, not yet.
Sergey.
Answering about metaverse first, I think it's too early. So metaverse is indeed a future, but esport is very competitive, and like milliseconds matters a lot. And I don't think that it will be ready from a technical perspective in the next maybe 5 years. We do wait for it because it might be very, very like awesome feature for like entertainment side of esports, but not yet. Speaking about trends, I would agree with Jaap about more closed ecosystems. I would say it's even more like a consolidation of the market that will happen. Certain game titles will be closed either by game developer or by 1 or 2 big TOs that will be basically leveling it up with a close cooperation with game developers. And for the rest of the market, it will be like semi-accessible. As for other trends, I would say that game like accessibility of the esport tech and maybe knowledge about how it works will create more interest on game developers' side to run it within their own departments. It becomes easier, so they can integrate even esport in terms of running tournaments, automatization, and everything right in the game. So sometimes they don't even need to go outside of it to have a proper competition. So that might be the trend for the next several years, where more and more tournament operators will actually be inside game developers serving their own needs.
Last but not least, Kurt, from your point of view, what do you think the future looks like?
As Sergey said, a bit too early for the metaverse conversation. As in, we had the panel before us. I just saw that screen football match. As in, immediately I went in and looking at it. But let's say from our perspective, it's currently too big of an ecosystem, and esports per se, we're not going to dive into the VR side of life and what they can do. Yes, you might have VR and you watch real life what you were looking at in a match. So realistically, we're just waiting.
Perfect. So thank you once again for joining this panel. I hope that both you and the audience enjoy the rest of Playcon, and hope to have this soon again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.